we are in 2019, and you know, I had the miscarriage. Well, now 6 months later from the miscarriage, I'm pregnant again. And at about the 6-week mark of this pregnancy, something else occurs. Okay, so now I'm pregnant with our daughter Alethea at this point, and things are starting to shift. Like in the marriage, things are starting to shift again, and it's going in a better direction.
Yeah, I mean, and I still remember this one particular day we went on like the trail outside of the near the apartments with this trail. And me, Donna, London went on this trail where, you know, London's playing in there. Me and Donna literally brought chairs, like little chairs. We're sitting down, you know, on this trail inside the woods, whatnot, and we're just talking. And she's, you know, again, she's a big health person, so she's breaking out all the different stuff she learned and what works for this and all. So she's just breaking all this stuff down, and I'm intrigued. I'm asking all these questions, and you know, so you know, our communication went to a whole nother level. So again, the marriage is definitely trending in a whole different direction. You know, because again, remember God talked about getting in position. So, and it's not again that bad things were going on. It was just again still my focus had to be even more on the marriage than it was. So it was going good, and we already was talking about going back with our vision board for the marriage and the family and all these things we're going to be implementing. And it's like literally after that walk on the trail, that was our last time on that trail.
I think for a while, I think it was, well, we never went back. I don't think we
went back before we moved, right?
And right after that, it was just a couple days later. This is when I'm now at about the 6-week mark with my pregnancy with Alethea. And when that hit, it was like I got hit spiritually, and to the point it kept me down quickly.
The physical impact that it had on your body was a spiritual attack, but obviously it impacted you majorly in a physical way. So you're already dealing with depression and
the depression again. The depression and suicidal thoughts was still there. Now at the 6-week mark of the pregnancy, I get hit spiritually, which was really affecting my body physically. And basically they were coming from my womb again. Just like, you know, prior I had the miscarriage, God revealed what happened with that they came from my womb, and now here they are trying to come from my womb again. And this one definitely looked a little different. I was feeling, there was no morning sickness, but I was feeling just physical things in my body. Again, I can feel the movement in my body of, you know, different things moving around. I didn't know at the time, but now looking back on it and God-given revelation, I was actually interceding a lot that was going on. The enemy was coming for us in the territory. They were coming for sending attacks for the region that we were in. And I was being used, my gift was being used to intercede all of these things so that it wouldn't take place. So I'm feeling the brunt of everything, on top of the depression and suicide, and on top of them trying to come against my womb to, again, now abort this baby.
Right, so you were intercepting it all, but we learned more about the gift tiles, also a part of your intercession for everyone, for certain people, and just in general, that type of intercession that you'll be doing. But now, with all these attacks coming physically, so again, this is on top of the depression, suicidal thoughts, it's outside of that. Now you have this physical attack on your body, and someone think, oh, it's pregnancy's pregnant, so it's some pregnancy complications. No, it was an all-out assault on her body. And
I was bedridden. I was bedridden for majority of the pregnancy. And when we were preparing to move out of the apartment even, I couldn't help pack anything. Nothing. I was laying in the bed. I was crying often because of the pain that I was in. I mean, I wasn't sleeping. They were keeping me up during the day. I wasn't taking naps because you know, the enemy was keeping me up. When I would try to sleep at night, I couldn't sleep. The pain in my body was unbearable. I couldn't get up and walk. I couldn't get up and go take a shower, take a bath, get myself dressed. It was all very, very difficult.
Right. Remember the migraines?
The migraines were nonstop. And that, again, when the migraines would come on, it was a sign to me that, okay, I'm intercepting something again, because once the migraine would come on, now some other stuff would start happening, which was, it might sound crazy, but this is, anyways, witches were literally
being intercepted.
Yeah.
Right?
So Jesus had revealed to me during the time I would see a vision, and there would be these witches in this line, and he would have the next one come up, and then the next one come up. And what they would do is they would come up through me and they would speak and tell me what they had been doing, what they were on assignment for. They would just reveal all these things to me. But the thing is they didn't want to be found out. They wanted to stay hidden. They wanted to stay behind the scenes. But Jesus, I literally seen him in the vision forcing the next one up, and they would speak through me, or they would literally make parts of my body just move on its own.
And really, if physically you were feeling it, your body would be moving because they're fighting. They don't want to speak most of the time, but see it almost like a trap being set for the enemy. These witches, warlocks in the territory, or some we knew who were around, connected to the ministry, who were just in general, or who was on assignment against us, against our church, ministry, against people in the territory, family, all these things. So you were literally the gift part. So now we're learning more about her, one of her spiritual gifts. And so part of it is with intercession, interceding for the territory, interceding for people. But with this exposing of the kingdom of darkness, she's also intercepting activities of witches and warlocks on assignment against us or whoever. And so they're upset because it's like they're trying to go doing whatever they're doing, and they're getting caught, they're getting exposed. And it's like you said, Jesus would you saw them, Jesus had them one by one
to go up, and then the next one go up. And the thing is, what I was experiencing, that wasn't necessarily a part. Jesus didn't want me to obviously experience that pain and all that stuff physically, but what I was experiencing physically is them attacking me and trying to come against my womb. But as far as when they would move around in me, that wasn't necessarily causing me pain. That was, Jesus trying to get them to come up and reveal themselves. And
like you were physically feeling their movements.
Yes.
That's what.
And a lot of times they wouldn't even speak. I would try to open my mouth and talk, and I could not say anything. So there were sometimes I had to get Decoy to give me a pen and a piece of paper so I could write down what it was they were saying to me, or what it was Jesus was saying to me, because they literally had my mouth shut.
Right. And again, this was someone thing, or it was a deliverance thing. Like, this was not something where you could, I command you to come out in Jesus' name. It's not a cast, not a demon, it's not a cast. This was not that. Trust me, we tried it. It was not that.
We thought that's what it was, and Jesus is like, no, I'm forcing them to come up to expose them. This is not, you need to be delivered from them. This is, you're intercepting what they're trying to do, and I'm trying to show you, expose who it is.
Right, and that's key to understand. So you have the attack physically that's happening. Now, on top of still depression, suicidal thoughts, on top of now you're intercepting, this demonic activities what these witches, warlocks are doing, and they're being exposed. But we're getting key information on what they're doing, some of their tactics, some of their strategies. Now, a lot of them didn't want to talk, but they were still, you saw faces, so you knew.
Oh, I seen faces. I heard names.
Yeah, so a lot of people were exposed. Yeah. A lot of witches were exposed.
God showed me many visions, and during that time, we got so much revelation that we now have been able to implement because He revealed it during that time.
Right, definitely. And now, while we're talking about, because we're gonna go deeper into these witches and warlocks and what they were doing, and just things that were discovered. But before that, going back to the physical attacks. Now, remember going to the hospital? We did go to the hospital one time.
Well, everybody was concerned and wanting us to go to the hospital, and we're like, that's not where we're supposed to go. God didn't tell us to go to the hospital. This is not a physical thing. This is a spiritual attack.
Right, but we did go that one time.
Yeah, we ended up going.
Like, literally, you got enough strength. We got you in the car and got you there. And what was that experience? What was the guess the nurse, doctor, what were they saying?
They checked my vitals. They checked everything out. Did they, hooked me up to different things and said, I'm good. Nothing's wrong.
Right. And
they took blood tests, urine tests. I mean, they said I was good.
Exactly. So it's like all this is going on, but they're like.
I tell you, I could barely walk. It was.
Right. And of course it was kind of like one of those things where they knew she was pregnant. So like, well, maybe some pregnancy thing, but there was nothing, which we knew. But, just to make some, feel a little better, at least she wanted to get checked, but we already knew what was going on.
Now I'm still pregnant, still under the attack, still you know, intercepting things, and now it's time for us to move out of the apartment. I couldn't help pack at all. So, and also we got movers and stuff to help us move everything out. So the day we're moving.
So now why are we moving out at this point? So now it's been a year, right?
Yeah.
That we've been in this apartment, and so why are we moving out?
Well, because God told us not to sign the next lease.
Right, he told us not to renew.
Yeah, he said, you know, don't renew the lease, that our time is up here, because he was transitioning, just like when we were living in the hotels for those 6 months, he was transitioning us to certain places around Atlanta for different assignments. And now we're living in the apartment, and it's the same thing. Okay, I want you to live here for a year, and now your assignment's up, I'm going to transition you somewhere else. So now it was a whole nother faith move that he was thrusting us into. But the day of moving day, we got the movers, and then at the same time we have the cleaners coming in to clean the apartment. And here it is. I've been going weeks at this point, interceding things, and witches manifesting, and I'm making sounds. They're talking through me. Like, if somebody from the outside looking in, they would think it looked wild.
Right. Now, you say they're talking through you now. It's not like you just relaxing. It was them being exposed, and step by step. It's not, you know what I'm saying, like they're just talking through you out the blue. Like, it was a process of how we went about doing it.
Right. So today's moving day, and I'm like, okay, Jesus, let's try and keep them at bay today, because I'm not trying to have all this going on while we have the movers and the cleaners in here. So everything was going okay, and I sat down most of the time, because again, I can barely walk at this point. Can't really eat. The witches and stuff wouldn't even let me eat. It was wild. So anyways, the movers leave. Decoy goes with the movers to the I don't know.
The storage.
Yeah, went to the storage. So we're left there, me, London, and my sister. So we're there, and I'm still like, okay, I start feeling this migraine come on. And when the migraine comes on, I'm like, okay, I know that this is a sign that I'm interceding something, another witch or something is going to try and come up. So the cleaners are almost done, and I'm like, please just hold off. Let's just wait until they leave. So as soon as they leave, literally as soon as they shut the apartment door, here it goes. Jesus is pulling the next witch up, which I can feel. Another thing, I can feel the fight inside. They don't want to be revealed. They don't want to be exposed. So when Jesus is calling them up, I can feel literally the tug of war going on inside, and I can hear them speaking, and they're saying they don't want to come up, and Jesus is letting them know they're going to be exposed.
And remember, this point when it's happened, I'm like, find out who it is. Like what? That's who? What? Like, so I'm almost like kind of like shocked somewhat of who's being exposed, who's being caught. Because again, it's not like with the naked eye you just be like, this person witch, this person warlock, and a lot of these people, most of them weren't obvious. It's like, what? Can't be this. Mm-hmm. But again, this is part of it. That's whole part of being exposed. We didn't expect it to be certain people, but it was like one by one by one by one.
And two, a lot of time when they would come up and speak, you would literally hear their voice. It didn't sound like me. It would sound like the person that was being exposed. It would sound exactly like them.
And I just reminded remember the lady who lived on the bottom floor when we first moved in? She
was very nice, very friendly, talked to us all the time.
Had her Bible open on her balcony.
Told us about her prayer room, and come to find out, a witch. And again, as soon as God exposed this is a witch, what happened? At this point, we know. She no longer talks to us. No longer talks to us.
I remember
Every
seeing
time
her.
She sees us.
Seeing her we were going to check the mail. Like, she went the opposite direction. Like, she didn't know us. Like she knew she was found out. Now, all of them don't respond that way, but she was running. Like, she didn't want no parts.
So again, now it's moving day, and left at the apartment is just me and London. Decoy goes with the movers to the storage, and my sister went to go get us something to eat. I can feel the migraine starting to increase, and I'm like, okay, I'm intercepting something. Another witch is going to try and come up. And then finally, she arrives back with the food. I try to walk to the kitchen to wash my hands, and I'm walking like a crippled person. Like, I can barely walk, and they're making me almost fall. Like, it was crazy to watch. I go in there, I finally finish washing my hands, walk back to the bedroom. There's no furniture in the house, so we go in our bedroom and sit on the floor so we can eat. So remember, I said they wouldn't let me eat most of the time. So I open up my food, it was a wrap, and I take the wrap and I'm trying to put it to my mouth, and my hand is going like this. Like I literally cannot get it up to my mouth. And they keep pulling my arm down, and I keep trying to put it up and they're pulling my arm down. And I even whenever I did get it to my mouth, I couldn't get my lips open. They would stay like they were glued shut. So we called Decoy at this point because this is
the first time it happened to this degree, right? So I'm like on the phone, you know, like trying to talk, you know, using authority and like, okay, you're gonna speak. What are you doing? You know, who are you? Kind of thing. You know, again, it wasn't a deliverance thing. It was.
But we thought it was at that time.
At that point, it was still some of, you know, we think, well, maybe this, you know, deliverance. But of course, more and more we went, God's like, no, that's not it. But I'm still thinking, okay, if this is happening, they're doing this to her body, then, you know, you're going to stop in Jesus' name, commanding all this, you know. But really, it was just allowing it to play out. Like, we supposed to allow it, like let them be exposed, let them come up and get the information that we needed to get. And so eventually it calmed down. Like, Jesus was on to the next one, and then on to the next one. And then that same day we're, you know, packing up to move. We finished all that. Decoy arrives back. Now we're all headed to the storage place. And I'm in the car and I'm intercepting things. And the next switch is being brought up. And now we're on our way to the hotel, because when we moved out of the apartment, it's another faith move. God hasn't quite yet told us where we're going to be living. We just have to trust him. So now, after living those 6 months in the hotel, then a year in the apartment, now we're putting all of our stuff back in storage so we can head back into the hotels, because it's again this faith move, being obedient, following him step by step. So now we're at the hotel. And I remember I was walking through the hotel and I was like, okay, Jesus, please keep them at bay, because now I'm feeling nauseous again. And when I was feeling nauseous and the migraine, those were two signs to tell me that, okay, I'm intercepting something again, and two, Jesus is going to try and push, you know, another witch or warlock up to expose. And this wasn't pregnancy sickness. This wasn't morning sickness. This wasn't anything to do with that, right?
So we're in the hotel, going in the elevator. I can feel I'm starting to intercept something again. So I'm like, please, Jesus, let's just hold off, wait till I get to the hotel room, which he literally did, because as soon as we got into that hotel room, the next witch pops up, and then God's on to the next one, and then on to the next one. And then two, it just kept going. And when I tell you there were so many of them, it just kept going to the point I was like, okay, can I get a break? Can I please try to sleep tonight? Which he did give me a break, was able to sleep that night. And then the next morning and several days after that, it was the same thing. He was just exposing, and we were getting more revelation and more insight that has helped us so much up to this point. Like, it is
major.
So now to backtrack some, I'm still pregnant with Alethea, and a dream of mine was always to have a home birth. I had that dream for at least 10 or 11 years once I found out that home birth was a thing. So I'm talking to God about it, and, you know, this is my second pregnancy, so I was asking him, you know, can this one be a home birth? Or if you want me to go in the hospital, I'll go to the hospital, but, you know, what do you want me to do? And he let me know that, you know, I could have the home birth. So I start going around looking for midwives, searching for every midwife in the area so I can set up an appointment and, you know, interview them and stuff and see who I want. So we went to several midwife appointments, and midwife after midwife, God was showing me was a witch, a witch, a witch. When I tell you, every single one of them. To the point I was like, okay, I'm confused. Why did you okay me to have a home birth? Tell me to go on these midwife interviews, but yet all of them are witches. There's no way you're gonna have a witch deliver my baby. Like, that doesn't make sense. So I was seeking him more about it, and he revealed that he was exposing the witches in the area. It was a whole network of witches that were midwives. And then the doctor, you have to use, you know, a certain doctor to do the anatomy scan and all that stuff when you have the midwife. So even the doctor that every midwife would tell you to go to, come to find out, a warlock. So I was like, so what are we doing here, God? This doesn't make sense. But anyway, like I said, he was exposing them all. Yeah,
so you think we're finding a midwife, but God's like, no, I'm sending you out to them to expose step by step, expose them step by step. Because again, you already intercepting all this stuff going on in the territory, in the area, in general, and now we're thinking, okay, we're going to find a midwife. But God's like, no, I'm sending you to expose. I'm sending you on assignment to expose. And it was again, again, it was crazy at that time. It's like, what is going on, Lord? Like, what is really happening? Why are you sending us out here to do this? And we're thinking we're going to get a midwife. We can't find one yet because we've gone through all these people so far, and all the one so far was a witch.
Mm-hmm. And so after that, that's when we then move out of the apartment and then stay in the hotel. And then now, after being in the hotel for probably about, I don't know, three days or so, we decide to get an Airbnb. So we get this Airbnb for about 5 days. And at this Airbnb, come to find out later, at the time we knew that this, spiritually, there was something crazy going on in this house. When I tell you it was dark, I felt it, my sister felt it, London felt it, Decoy felt it. We were like, this place is dark. To a point you could feel just the darkness, the heaviness of it in the house, every room you went in. Also, the objects in the house, you could tell you were being watched. It was very obvious. And come to find out, the woman that ran the Airbnb, a witch. So again, God is sending us on these paths to expose all these things. And in the house, I'm still going through this where I'm interceding. I'm going through this where these witches are, you know, being intercepted, and these witches are being exposed and coming up out and speaking and stuff. So we stayed there, I think, a total about 5 days. And then after that, we had some stuff going on in South Carolina, so we decided to drive back to South Carolina. And while we were there, we didn't know how long we were going to stay. So we, you know, asked God how long were we going to be there, and I'm pretty sure he said 2 weeks. So we stayed those 2 weeks.
And we're at my parents' house.
Yeah, stayed at his parents' house. And then after he was like, okay, you know, when 2 weeks is done, your time's up, that's it. Now you head back to Atlanta. And again, we don't know where we're going to stay. So we're like, okay, we head back to Atlanta. We head back into a hotel until he tells us where to go next. So on the road back to Atlanta, Decoy's looking up
townhomes.
Yeah.
I'm looking up just houses in general. But the thing is, Donna wanted something, the same thing, brand new, never been lived in before. So I'm like, how are we gonna find a brand new house, townhouse, something like brand new? Okay.
I'm like, God's gonna do it, because again, I know that this is how he works with me. So if I say, okay, God, I want this, he's gonna make it happen.
Right. And so we're on the road, and I come across this newly built brand new community of townhouses. I was like, okay, well, this is one. And I looked at the price, and I was like, well, I don't, okay, we don't, you know, how are we gonna do this? But you know, the Lord will make a way of this. Let's just go look at it, you know what I'm saying? So it was like 2 of them in the same area. We looked at both. The second one, as soon as you walked in.
Oh yeah, because 2, again, like just spiritually, you pick up on things and you know what God is saying and all this. So we walked in the first one, I was immediately like, nope, this one's not it. We walked in the second one. As soon as we walked in, I was like, Decoy, is this it? This is it. Like, God is saying this is the one. And looking at the numbers.
Right. It was like, okay, how are we gonna do this? Not sure if, you know, again, not even sure we were gonna be fully approved. Now, granted, we were doing good.
But because it literally lined up with what I said I wanted and what I felt God say when we walked in the door, we knew it was gonna line up for that reason. But as far as, okay, how exactly is God going to do this? Because on paper, again, just like the apartment, on paper, I wasn't necessarily all there. Now moving into the townhouse, it's like, okay, now he's taking our faith up another level, because in the apartment, it was, what, $2,000 a month?
$2,000, right.
Now we're looking at this townhouse, and it's about $3,500 a month.
Right, pretty close.
So that's a pretty big jump. But God was saying, again, your faith is going up new levels. So we decided to contact.
So we applied for it, right? And I think they were out of town.
Yeah.
Out of town during that time. And
we basically let him know we wanted it. He sent over the paperwork so we could fill it out, go ahead and apply for it. And I think a day or 2, he proved it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And it went through. It was like, okay, Lord. Now again, this is faith again, because it's like, all right, we went from 2,000 to now almost 3,500, and it's like, okay. And then, but when we got there, God said, what did he say about the transition?
Take that piece of hair.
Right. I didn't get there. Okay, so you saw it? Could you see it?
Yeah, it's on YouTube.
I
kept wondering why you were acting weird while recording. Okay, go ahead.
So where we starting from on that one? We got approved, and this is a faith move. it's trusting God now, because it's like, all right, so we have this on top of other bills, but you know, literally almost $3,500 on top of other things, and now here we are moving in, and God tells you about what?
Oh yeah, the first week we moved in here, we're actually in that townhouse right now, but the first week that we moved in here, God said to me, I'm gonna take you guys through a process, and if you guys do it right, you know, you'll be out in this amount of time. And he said, I'm going to call this your house of transition.
Yes, house of transition. And talk about a house of transition. A lot of things occurred while living here. And so, knowing that house transition, so we in. Then remember now, it wasn't, not only the fact that it was only, we were paying literally almost $3,500, but then we had to pay 2 times the deposit, so 2 times that to move in. We had to pay double that to move in. So I mean, that's when I was really like, man, I ain't trying to come off of that now. I'm not trying to come off of that. But Donna's like, just go ahead and do it. This is what God is saying where we're at, so just do it. So so we did it, and we're in and moved in.
No, we didn't move in yet. So we got approved, all that. Now we're still at the hotel because we're waiting for the realtor and stuff to come from out of town. They were like Alaska or something on vacation.
Right. Yeah, property manager was out of town.
Yeah, so we're waiting for him to get back. And while we're still in the hotels, the night before we moved in, I had this dream. I'm not a big prophetic dreamer. I see visions and stuff. But this night I had a dream. And in the dream, we pulled up to the townhouse. I get out, I walk up to the sidewalk, and I'm about to go up to the house. And as soon as I step onto the sidewalk, this witch meets me and her husband, and she literally starts fighting me in the dream and telling me that this is her territory. She doesn't want me in this territory. We need to leave. And again, this is the day before we move in. So again, God is exposing, God is revealing and showing, basically the enemy's been trying to keep us out of this territory. So anyways, that was it with that. The next day we ended up moving in. Depression, the suicide, can barely walk. I'm still physically feeling the attacks.
Right, and then too, also piggybacking on that, with these witches being exposed coming up, it wasn't, so now these covens of witches and warlocks, like it's a lot. It was like an army of them. And so it's not so much just the power of witches, but it was their backing. It was the backing of the principalities. Remember, so like we're still being engaged by principalities. So it's the principalities' power and the stuff that's backing it, but it's just all these witches, warlocks that are being exposed, and of course also trying to do things. But remember, Donna's intercepting, you know what I'm saying, and interceding, you know, on behalf of the territory and others, while, you know, all that stuff is happening. That's why it's going on. So just wanted to kind of reiterate that aspect of it, that we're still looking at as the principalities that were engaging, but the witches and warlocks were also, you know, on assignment as well, and Donna intercepting all of that.
And again, to show you how big of an attack this was, not only were they just trying to get me to end my life, they were trying to, you know, kill the baby in my womb. And also, this was not just this region. This attack was not just for this region. The witches and warlocks that Jesus was exposing during this time, when I tell you they were all over the place, God would show me what state they lived in. God would show me some in Hawaii, some in California, they were all over the place. So the attacks that were going on up to this point that we didn't even realize was that major, God was, you know, kept revealing and revealing more. So we didn't realize how big of an attack this was, but I was literally intercepting things that the enemy was trying to do all across the world. It was all over. So it gave us more understanding on how big of an attack this was and why it lasted majority of my pregnancy.
Yeah, and understand, and these, you know, a lot of these witches and warlocks were high ranking, like very, very high ranking. So all over the world that you were intercepting their work, so, and what they were trying to do. So that's what made it even more like a big deal. Like, well, wait a minute, like, who are we, God? Like, what are you calling us to? So we're still always asking this question, Lord, what, this is new, this is a lot going on, but knowing it was all across the globe, that like Donna was intercepting what they were doing.
And two, knowing you couldn't find this information anywhere. Where have you heard this? You can't pick up a book and read about it. You can't watch a YouTube video about it. You can't talk to family and stuff about it because you don't even fully understand it yourself. So if you talk to them about it, they're going to think I mean, you're crazy. They're going to think, you know, you need some prayer because you need to get some help, you know, something, because who has actually encountered somebody that's been going through something like this? So this is all brand new to us. God was revealing so much revelation to the both of us. And here we are implementing it all.
Oh, I think you needed deliverance. That would have been
Right. So now we're living in the townhouse, and again, you know, God's exposing all these witches that are midwives. And so, you know, I keep taking it back to him. Okay, what are you saying about this? Who do I need to go to? What do I need to do? Now are you going to have me go to the hospital now? Like, what is this going to look like? And that's when he revealed to me, you can have an unassisted home birth, which an unassisted home birth is without any medical team. No doctor, no nurse, no doula, no midwife, none of that. You birth at home unassisted, just you and your partner or whoever, you know, or just yourself, whoever you choose, basically. So that made me even more excited because honestly, I didn't want the midwife in the first place. I wanted to do it unassisted because I had already, by this point, I had already done years of research. I had educated myself on it. So I knew what to do, what to expect, all this. And so when he told me you can have an unassisted home birth, oh, I was completely overjoyed. So now that's what we're you know, shooting towards. That's what we're leaning towards. So we prepare for all of that. And now we get up to birthing Alethea. So now I'm in labor at home, and
I was a little nervous at first. Now it's not like I was just, oh yeah, we can do it. It's like she had to really kind of coach me up and prepare me, because I was like, what? This is what? How are we gonna do it? And I'm asking all these questions quite naturally, but it didn't take me long to get comfortable. And I'm like, all right, and knowing that God greenlighted everything, that's what made it much easier. And I was okay. We're gonna trust him in this and go from there. So you prepared me well.
Yeah. So now we're at home. I'm going into labor, and when I'm probably at like the last stage of labor, I can feel this labor felt nothing like my first one. This one, I could feel the spiritual warfare going on the inside of me. It felt like my insides were being torn apart. I could feel the tug of war. I could feel like the enemy trying to pull this way and heaven trying to pull this way. It was like they were trying to do anything to stop the baby from coming. And again, sorry, I have to back up some. Alethea was actually born 2.5 weeks past her due date. Her due date was supposed to be in March. So what happened was each day past her due date, God was like, it's not safe for her to come yet. She cannot come out yet. She has to be born in the glory. And the fight that's going on around this baby coming out into this world is so strong that I cannot let her come out right now, because if she comes out right now, the plan of the enemy is going to succeed. And what the enemy wants is, the enemy wants a stillbirth. So God was like, it's not safe for her to come out yet. I'm going to keep her in the womb, because there was still a fight going on for her. So each day that passed, and each day that passed, it was like, okay, is she going to come now? Is she going to come now? No, God still kept saying, no, she has to be born in the glory. She cannot be born yet. So now we're on April 2nd, and this is the day that I go into labor, and she's actually born. But during the labor, I could feel the tug of war. I could feel the fight just physically going on inside of me.
Yeah. And I remember how painful you said it was.
Compared to my first labor, which the first one was in the hospital, but there was no epidural or anything. I did that one natural. But compared to that one, this one was crazy painful. I was shocked at how painful this one was, which at the same time, looking back, I can't really be shocked about that, seeing that the fight that led up to this was even wild.
Right. And so now she's born, but that whole attack, the attacks on your body, on top of, you know, what you were intercepting, all that, how long did that last?
The whole attacks, I'm pretty sure it lasted about 7 months, where I keep, you know, intercepting things, and the witches are, you know, coming up and being exposed. I'm pretty sure that lasted about 7 months.
Right, because we moved in here where we are now in October of 2019, and actually it was almost a day or two before our first live church service, physical location, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then 2020 comes around, and things are going good after she's born, but you're still experiencing.
Oh, after she's born, it's still the suicidal thoughts. It's still them trying to get me to commit suicide. The heaviness, the depression, the mental attacks, the mental warfare. nothing had changed, even from still, you know, seeing that brain doctor. Everything that I was experiencing from what he's seen on the scan is now at this point, after I've delivered Alethea, is still the same things that I'm experiencing daily. Nothing had lifted.
Yeah, so that was still like, okay, Lord, what's going on? Like, all this is happening. Understanding your spiritual gift, understanding all these other things, discernment being increased, all these things. She's still experiencing depression, suicide, heaviness, all that. And now, financially, we're still doing pretty good. And it's still to the point where it was like, anytime the account got to like, what was it like? If it got below 10,000, I was like, it's below 10,000. Gotta get it back up. It's below 10,000. Like I never liked it to be below 10,000. So we was at that place where we had at least that much, just you know,
there was definitely some cushion.
Just just that's what that compared with where we were before we moved to Georgia and all that stuff. So we were doing way better than we'd ever done before, and so rent is. It's not even a thing. Like we're hitting it. It's like,
all the bills were being taken care of.
Everything's being taken care of, and we're still able to help out a lot of other people, pay all the bills, do all these things. And the marriage. So before we get to that, the marriage was, we still was continue to improve, because again, this is like the standard that God has. It's like, it's a standard He has for marriage, and He kept pushing.
Well, it would improve here and there. If you remember, there would be moments, there would be, months at a time where it was almost it wasn't necessarily going up levels. It was either staying the same or it was kind of sliding backwards. We had moments like that, and then we had moments where, okay, now it's actually getting better.
Right. And
it was never consistent going up.
Right. It was sometimes it just stayed kind of leveled off where I felt like, oh, it's fine, it's good, we're not.
It would level off, or sometimes it would kind of backtrack a little.
Right, but it was like, it still felt like it was, we still were trending upward, but then most of the time, I guess, for a period, during that time, it kind of leveled off. So maybe we have two different accounts of this.
It did not, again.
Clearly we have two different accounts of
your
this.
focus was something else. Your focus was, again, getting caught up in the whole ministry aspect, and that was your focus, and you're thinking we're good over here. As long as you and I are communicating about ministry and talking about the ministry, you think things are going great.
Right.
But it would be like the quality time would slow down, or the communication concerning other things would slow down, or the physical touch would slow down. But he wasn't seeing all that. He wasn't sensing all of that. His was just, oh, we're communicating about ministry. The ministry is going great. This is good. We're good. When it was not.
Right. So God is still dealing with us about the marriage, me specifically, really. And I remember one night in prayer, remember Donna had Alethea, and I was on the altar, went to the altar to pray, and it just hit me, like all the stuff that she went through, and I just started bawling, like apologizing, sorry that she had was experiencing all the pain that she's been experiencing, all the depression, heaviness, suicidal thoughts, just all those attacks. And I just remember bawling like a baby. Like I got up off the altar out of prayer and came to her and was like, it's like I just felt the weight of all of that hit me at one point in time, and I just couldn't, just how much I know she had experienced and endured and had dealt with, and it's just, and you remember that moment?
Oh, I remember that. I was like, what is going on?
It like came out of nowhere, like it just hit me. God was just showing me, I was like, oh my goodness, like this is a lot. And, but it was in December of 2021, got a prophetic word, and God to give you the word.
Yeah.
And it was about the marriage. So I'm going to read a part of that prophecy, because it's very significant in understanding how serious God is about marriage, and how serious He helped me specifically, see how important marriage is to Him and so many other components of marriage. So I'm going to pull that up here. And so this was on, I believe it was December 27th, 2021, or December 20th. But it says, your marriage is to be looked up to. Your marriage is to be followed after. If your marriage is distorted because it's distorted view, looked at through the scales, then is it really a marriage that represents me? Is it really a marriage that should be followed after and looked up to? Is it then the marriage I called it to be? If something is to represent me, it needs to carry the correct representation. Not a representation of your own, but one of mine. From my viewpoint, marriage is the most sacred and holy covenant. I need it to be treated as such. Something that is holy and sacred is going to be tended to differently than something that is not. Marriage needs the right attention, the right seeds. Remember, this marriage is to be looked after as one that honors me, as one that represents me. And then God had given Donna a vision in it. And she was saying, Donna said this, I'm seeing God's hand holding a puzzle piece in front of this gigantic puzzle that's already put together with one slot not filled in. And he said, this is the last piece. This piece is your marriage being birthed out with my blueprint. This is why the battle has been so hard in your marriage. They, the demonic, are after this last piece. Cherish it. Cherish it. Cherish her. Now this is God talking. Cherish it. Cherish her. The more you cherish her, the greater your reward, the greater your favor. You've been going around the same mountain for far too long. This mountain of marriage. It's because you tried to do it your own way and in your timing. I'm calling you to drop all of that and listen for my voice pertaining to your marriage. What I'm teaching you, you all will teach. You will teach what it's like to really carry a God-ordained marriage that truly represents me. Not many do. Your marriage is set apart from the set apart. You hold the key to the transformation in this marriage. When used accurately, you will unlock what's been hidden. Oh, is it beautiful. Donna, what a jewel amongst jewels. My son, you have no idea what you've been gifted with. You have no idea what treasure I've placed in your hands. Handle her with care, and you will reap some of your greatest rewards. You don't see what I see. You don't see how I see. Come to me to have the scales removed. Not many know, but how they tend to their wife and their marriage decides how much I release into their life. I take the care of the wife more serious than men understand. When a man cares for his wife from a right heart, he will experience favor that you couldn't have gotten otherwise. A man's favor is attached to his wife, and it is only unlocked when his care for her is up to my standard of care for her. Wives are more precious, sacred, and delicate than men realize. It is only when you draw close to me will you see and truly understand my love for a wife. I will impart my love into you to impart into her. When that happens, favor will explode. Your joy will be like nothing you've ever seen or known. When marriage is not handled with the love and care I created it to have, things get stocked up, backed up. Things begin to get clogged in a marriage. The secret to getting this freely flowing is the key I place in the man's hand. Love her like Christ loved the church, and your world will never be the same. This is a key I've placed in your hand, not the other way around. You're not waiting on her, you're waiting on you. When a marriage shifts, everything around it has no choice but to shift. Things have no choice but to attract to you. A marriage after my own heart is a marriage that can't be touched. A marriage after my heart is an untouchable marriage. Stick to me and things will never look the same. If the enemy can get your eyes off your marriage, he can change the trajectory of your path very quickly. Do a daily inventory. Where are my eyes? What is my focus today? A 3-cord strand is not easily broken. Every marriage is not held together with me in the center. Only those marriages that love the way I've called them to love are not easily broken. Just because it's a marriage put together by me doesn't mean it's not easily broken. It's only when the love is up to my standard that it is not easily broken. The enemy knows this. He knows how to have footholds in marriages all across the globe. Distract the husband and you distract the marriage. I'm going to need you to have tunnel vision when it comes to your marriage. It's not about you, it's about me. Your sacrifice will go to a whole new level. That's where I need it. That's where you need it. Murmuring and complaining is one thing that kept the Israelites going around the same mountain. This will not be that. I repeat, this will not be that. I'm not asking too much of you, just like I didn't ask too much of Jesus. I'm showing you the blueprint for marriage, not the Corps' blueprint for marriage. This isn't about your needs. This is about the needs of the marriage. The most power you will ever hold is the power within your marriage. The scripture reference was 1 Corinthians 13, 1-3 and Proverbs 18 and 22. So now God is again continuing to push us deeper within the standard of marriage, and stretching me, pushing me, opening my eyes even more. And so we're living in a townhouse. So we're 2020 again. Everything is going good. We're still paying everything on time. Then I remember August 2020. That's when everything really completely changed financially. It's like God thrust us into this process that we had no idea what we were getting into.
If you guys are enjoying our journey, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe.
And be sure to hit that bell notification so you can see every time a new video is posted.